All right, you guys, I'm just going to talk you through a couple of things, approaches for note taking, and just kind of some general recommendations for notes, if that is helpful for you. Lots of you figured out a great way to do it yourself, but I'm just going to kind of talk you through how I would approach stuff. Usually, when I'm starting a new section or anything that I need to read, I like to scan through everything first and say, like, okay, let's say I'm looking at concept 5.3. Passive transport is diffusion of a substance across a membrane. And then I'm looking through, like, okay, how long is this? How many? Ooh, I have a lot of, okay, so there's a lot of pictures there, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, how much time do I want to spend? Like, how much time do I have right now? And then how much do I want to spend on this? And again, remembering the rule of three. So rule of three is really important in AP Bio, this idea that to master anything complex, you're probably going to need to look at it a few different ways. So maybe reading through it once is one of the good ways. And you have videos and things like that, like Bozeman Science or AP Classroom, and then there's other review guides and books to help you. So I mean, there's just so many resources out there. It's a matter of finding the things that are helpful for you. But just this idea that probably just reading through something once on your own in the book is not going to be enough to really understand a complex topic. But it's a great starting point, and it gets you thinking about things before you come to class and helps you with those notes quizzes, so you can sort of assess what you understand and what you need more practice on. And so I'm looking through this, and so I kind of started some notes here. And I'm a messy writer, and I have a fluid way of taking notes. So it's just how I've done things. Many of you write more, which I think is completely fine. I'm writing a little bit less just as a model, but like whatever is working for you, you should keep doing. So if you're writing more and it's working for you, you have time to do that, great. If you don't, and writing less works for you, then you can do that too. So I just kind of writing down some ideas, and I think the key thing is really trying to put some like pictures or graphics. You might want to add more detail than mine, but this is just a starting point. And then I think the key thing is I'm asking myself questions as I'm reading. So like in this case, this is about diffusion, and so I'm writing down, what is diffusion? First of all, I wrote down, okay, passive transport is diffusion of a substance across a membrane. That's the title of this section, so that seems important. And so if they tell me what diffusion is, I probably better write a definition of that. It gives some examples of here what diffusion is, and it talks about this equilibrium that happens through random motion. I'm kind of wondering, like, why does that happen? Like, why does equilibrium happen? I want to find out more about that. I also wrote down, this is kind of weird, it's just talking about how each substance diffuses down its concentration gradient, but it's not affected by the gradients of other substances. So I was just starting to have some questions about that. Like, I don't know if that makes sense to me. I want to find out a little bit more about that. So either when I'm looking at my videos or I'm rereading things, I'm kind of wondering about that in my head. Or maybe that's something I can ask about in class tomorrow. I'm also thinking about examples. So it's giving me this picture and it's saying diffusion happens. Like, why do I care about this in biology? What would be some examples of diffusion that might happen? And then I'm looking at here and keep reading along. And then I was like, oh, it gives me an example here. Okay, so like oxygen will move into cells in cellular respiration through diffusion, it looks like. Okay, so that seems important for biology. So also, I think I had in my head, because of the example, that it was happening in liquids, but it looks like gases too. Okay, that's interesting. So I'm having this conversation with myself as I'm reading in my head about, like, what is this and why does it matter to me? So like, why are we learning about this? So this is something I'm going to be thinking about, as we learn about diffusion in class. Like, why are we learning about this? How is it relevant to biology? All right, and I'm going to keep reading. There's more examples here. There's some pictures and things like that. So I'm just going through, and I'm like, okay, I had a few more definitions that showed up as I read. Okay, diffusion is called passive transport because it requires no energy. Okay, I feel like I could remember that. That's like kind of good. So passive, no energy. I feel like if I had to remember the example there, I'd be like, oh yeah, passive and no energy. I'm passive, I'm not using any energy. Okay, that's great. Okay. It says membranes are selectively permeable. Okay. it says, oh, it says remember, so that membranes are susceptibly permeable. So that's come up before. I probably should look back and see, like, where else did I learn this? Did I learn this before in the book? I better go look that up. Okay. And then it gives some examples. Oh, it says movement of water is important. Water moves through aquaporins. That's another example of passive transport, also known as diffusion. Okay, passive transport, diffusion, and water, that's important, it says. Okay, and then it gives me some examples of a figure. Oh man, and I was looking at this figure and I am confused. So I started drawing it and I was like, why is the water doing that? That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, I think I'm gonna look something up because, okay, and I'm looking at how it says, and it's an example of osmosis, and it is in a U-shaped glass tube. So I might like look that up and be like, what's going on here? Because this drawing didn't make sense to me the way they explained it. It says something about water moving from an area higher to lower free water concentration, but like, why is it doing that? All right, I'm gonna come back to that, but I'm gonna move on. Okay, and then we're talking about water balance in cells. There's a picture in here of animal versus plant cells, and it's showing some pictures. Now, I probably better put a definition of these in here, but just to start out with, I'm going to just draw some pictures from what it's showing in that graphic, and then I'm going to add my definitions when I have a minute, but I've been reading through it, and I think I'm going to need some more help here, so this might be another thing I ask for. And then I'm looking back at the whole section, and I'm saying like, okay, I've got all this stuff. Okay, what are the key ideas here? Passive transport, diffusion, diffusion of water, diffusion in cells. It's talking about water. It's talking about some solutes. It can happen with gases. So I'm thinking about like, where am I going with this? So I'm going to just flip ahead a little bit and see. Oh, now, okay, so next it's active transport. So I'm guessing that's maybe going to use energy since passive transport doesn't. And it looks like, okay, so there's some more examples of active transport. Okay, so now I have a little more context and I'm thinking, okay, so passive transport is something where we see some water and movement in cells, okay, whereas then we're going to contrast that with a different kind of transport next. Okay, that helps me. Okay,